She was only 7 years old, yet her eyes carried the brilliance of a mind the world ignored. On an ordinary night, she silently entered an empty building and solved a problem no engineer could. Her exit was as quiet as her entrance, but the impact of her action echoed across the entire country. If you were touched by this beautiful story of resilience and love, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Continuing. Rain poured relentlessly over Seattle's glistening skyscrapers, casting long shadows across Pioneer Square as 7-year-old Lily Mason huddled beneath a store awning. Her small frame shivered despite the oversized hoodie she'd found in a donation bin last week. 3 months on the streets had taught her which places offered shelter, which trash bins contained edible food, and most importantly, which adults to avoid. Lily wasn't like other homeless children. Behind her dirt-smudged face and tangled blonde hair lay a mind that processed numbers, patterns, and algorithms with extraordinary precision. She hadn't always been homeless. 6 months ago, she lived with her grandmother, the only person who'd ever understood her gift. When her grandmother fell ill and was taken to a facility, Lily had escaped the foster system that threatened to separate them forever. The system had failed to notice her special abilities. They only saw a problem to solve. "Move along, kid," a security guard called, eyeing her suspiciously from the doorway of an upscale coffee shop. "Can't have you scaring away customers." Lily gathered her worn backpack, containing her only possessions, a notebook filled with complex equations, a dog-eared library card, and a small stuffed rabbit her grandmother had given her, and disappeared into the rain. She knew exactly where to go. The Seattle Central Library stood like a geometric marvel of glass and steel against the gray sky. To most, it was an architectural wonder. To Lily, it was salvation. The library staff had grown accustomed to the quiet girl who spent hours absorbed in books far beyond her age level, though none suspected she had no home to return to. She had mastered the art of appearing just clean enough not to draw attention, washing in public restrooms, and keeping her voice soft and polite on the rare occasions she needed to speak. "Good morning, Lily," whispered Ms. Jenkins, the kind-eyed librarian who had taken a special interest in the girl. "The new mathematics journals came in yesterday. I set one aside for you." Lily's eyes brightened. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely audible. "And there's hot chocolate in the staff room. I'll bring you a cup." This small kindness nearly brought tears to Lily's eyes. Ms. Jenkins never asked too many questions, but she ensured Lily had a warm drink and occasionally a sandwich from her own lunch. She was the only person who'd noticed Lily's extraordinary ability to comprehend advanced mathematical concepts. Today, Lily settled into her favorite corner and opened the journal. Within minutes, she was lost in a world of differential equations and algorithmic structures. The article discussed the limitations of current AI learning models, presenting a problem that had stumped researchers for months. Lily immediately spotted the flawed reasoning. Taking out her notebook, she began working through alternative approaches, her pencil moving with confident precision across the page. Hours passed unnoticed as Lily worked, filling page after page with elegant solutions that would have astonished PhD-level mathematicians. Her mind didn't follow conventional pathways. It leaped intuitively between concepts, finding connections invisible to others. By closing time, she had completely restructured the approach to the problem, creating a more efficient model that eliminated the core issues. "We're closing in 15 minutes, dear," Ms. Jenkins announced, placing a paper bag beside Lily. "Just some leftovers from our staff meeting," she added with a wink. Lily nodded gratefully, carefully placing her notebook in her backpack. The sandwich would sustain her through the night, and the library's bathroom had given her a chance to wash her face and hands. Now she needed to find somewhere dry to sleep. Outside, the rain had subsided, but the November chill penetrated her thin layers of clothing. Lily walked purposefully toward the business district, where empty building lobbies sometimes offered warm corners, until security guards noticed her. Tonight, however, her usual spots were either locked or occupied by other homeless individuals. As hunger gnawed at her stomach, Lily found herself wandering into the heart of South Lake Union, where tech companies had transformed old warehouses into gleaming innovation centers. The towering Quantum Dynamics building stood before her, its blue glass exterior reflecting the streetlights. A sign proudly proclaimed, "Reshaping Artificial Intelligence for a Brighter Tomorrow." Lily paused, recalling the journal article she'd just read. Quantum Dynamics was the very company struggling with the AI model she'd just solved, a coincidence that felt strangely like destiny. Through the lobby windows, she could see a security guard nodding off at his desk. More importantly, she noticed a service door propped slightly open where a maintenance worker had just exited. Without conscious decision, Lily slipped toward the door. Survival instinct and curiosity pulled her forward in equal measure. The service corridor was warm and deserted. Lily moved silently, following the scent of food. She'd mastered the art of invisibility, walking without sound, staying in shadows, making herself so unobtrusive that even when seen, she was instantly forgotten. Her small stature and quiet demeanor served her well as she navigated the building. On the 12th floor, she discovered the source of the enticing aroma, a conference room where platters of sandwiches, fruit, and pastries remained from a late meeting. Through the glass wall, she could see the room was empty. Her heart racing, Lily gently pushed the door open. The abundance of food overwhelmed her senses. She carefully selected a sandwich and an apple, taking small, measured bites. She wouldn't take more than she needed, another survival rule she lived by. As she ate, her eyes were drawn to something far more interesting than food. The far wall was covered with whiteboards filled with equations, flowcharts, and algorithmic notations. Lily recognized the problem immediately. It was the same AI learning model from the journal, but in its full expanded form. Engineers had been working for months on this problem, their frustration evident in the crossed-out sections and question marks scrawled across the boards. Lily moved closer, sandwich forgotten in her hand. The equations called to her like a siren song. She could see the errors immediately: misapplied variables, rigid parameters where dynamic ones were needed, and a fundamental misconception in the core logic structure. "They're approaching it. All wrong," she whispered to herself, reaching for a marker before she could consider the consequences. Her hand hovered for a moment. This was someone else's work, someone else's property. But the pull of the mathematics was irresistible. The problem needed to be solved, and she could solve it. With a deep breath, she began to write. Time disappeared as Lily worked, erasing and rewriting entire sections of the algorithm. Her small frame had to stretch and climb on chairs to reach higher portions of the board, but she continued with single-minded focus. The complex AI model transformed under her hands, restructured with elegant simplicity and mathematical precision. She worked through the night, her mind alive with possibilities as she rewrote the future of artificial intelligence. The emptiness of her stomach and the danger of discovery faded against the pure joy of mathematical creation. This wasn't just about solving a problem. It was about creating something beautiful. By dawn, exhaustion finally overcame her. The whiteboards now displayed a completely transformed algorithm, cleaner, more efficient, and fundamentally revolutionary in its approach. Lily curled up on the conference room couch, her mission accomplished, and fell into a deep sleep, unaware that what she'd done would shake the foundations of quantum dynamics and change her life forever. Outside the windows, Seattle awakened to a new day. Inside, a hidden genius slept beside her masterpiece, waiting to be discovered. Chapter 2. The discovery. Dr. Nathan Brooks strode into Quantum Dynamics headquarters with the weight of impending failure heavy on his shoulders. As Chief Technology Officer, he'd staked the company's future and his own reputation on an AI breakthrough that remained stubbornly out of reach. For months, his team had worked around the clock, burning through millions in investor funding, while their competitors gained ground. "Morning, Dr. Brooks," called the receptionist. The board members arrived early. They're waiting in the main conference room. Nathan suppressed a groan. The quarterly investor meeting couldn't have come at a worse time. Their AI model, designed to revolutionize predictive analytics in climate science, remained fundamentally flawed. Each attempt to correct one problem created 3 more, and their most recent test had crashed spectacularly. "Thanks, Diane. Could you have someone bring up extra coffee?" "I think we'll need it." He rode the elevator to the 12th floor, mentally rehearsing how to explain that their $50 million project needed more time and funding. 4 major investors were threatening to pull out, and CEO Rebecca Torres had made it clear: deliver results or start looking for a new job. Nathan pushed open the conference room door to find an unusual scene. Rather than impatient executives checking their watches, he saw the entire engineering team clustered around the whiteboards, murmuring in tones of disbelief. "What's going on?" he asked, setting down his briefcase. Rebecca Torres turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Nathan, did you have a breakthrough last night?" "What?" "No, I left around 9. Why?" Rebecca gestured toward the whiteboards. "Then perhaps you can explain this." Nathan approached the boards, confusion giving way to astonishment. The equations covering the whiteboards weren't the same ones he'd left behind yesterday. The core algorithm had been completely restructured, simplified in some areas, elaborated in others, with an entirely new approach to the neural network. Architecture. "This isn't our work," he whispered, studying the elegant mathematical solutions. This is brilliant. Whoever did this has solved the variability problem we've been struggling with for months. So you're saying someone broke into our building and fixed our multi-million-dollar project?" Rebecca's voice was skeptical, but her eyes held a glimmer of hope. "Check the security footage," Nathan suggested, already running simulations in his head based on the new equations. This could actually work. The dynamic parameter adjustment. It's so obvious now, but none of us saw it. Marcus Johnson, head of security, was already reviewing footage on his tablet. "Got something. Last night around 7:30. Service entrance. On the west side." The room fell silent as the team gathered around the small screen. The grainy footage showed a tiny figure slipping through a door that had been propped open by a maintenance worker. The child, for it was clearly a child, moved with the cautious precision of someone accustomed to avoiding detection. "Is that a little girl?" Rebecca asked incredulously. Additional footage showed the girl finding her way to the 12th floor, entering the conference room, eating a sandwich, and then, to everyone's amazement, spending the next 7 hours methodically working on the whiteboards. The small figure had to stand on chairs to reach the upper sections, but worked with confident precision, occasionally pausing to calculate something in a notebook before continuing. "Where is she now?" Nathan asked, a mix of emotions washing over him: amazement, curiosity, and concern for the child who appeared to be alone in the middle of the night. Marcus checked the most recent footage. Still here. She fell asleep on the couch in the small meeting room next door around 5 a.m. Nathan and Rebecca exchanged glances. "Let's wake her gently," Rebecca suggested. "She looks exhausted and probably hungry." They found Lily curled up on the leather couch, her small body nearly swallowed by the cushions. Her backpack served as a pillow, and despite the comfortable surroundings, she slept with the wariness of someone ready to flee at the first sign of danger. "Hey there, Nathan," said softly, keeping a respectful distance. "You did some amazing work on our whiteboards." Lily's eyes snapped open instantly. She assessed the situation with alarming speed. 2 adults blocking the main exit, but a possible escape route through the side door. She sat up slowly, clutching her backpack to her chest. "Am I in trouble?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Not at all," Rebecca replied, crouching down to seem less intimidating. "We're actually hoping you might explain how you understood our algorithm. It's very advanced mathematics." Lily hesitated, years of institutional distrust warring with a desperate longing to talk about mathematics with someone who might understand. "The approach was inefficient," she finally said. "Your parameters were static where they needed to be responsive. I fixed it." Nathan blinked, stunned by the clarity of her assessment. "You're right. That's exactly what you did. How did you learn to do this kind of math?" "Books. The library has everything." Lily's stomach growled loudly, interrupting the conversation. Rebecca smiled. "Let's get you some breakfast, and then we can talk more. I'm Rebecca Torres, and this is Dr. Brooks." "What's your name?" Lily Mason." She stood cautiously, still evaluating potential escape routes. Over breakfast in the company cafeteria, where Lily ate with the careful restraint of someone unused to regular meals, they learned fragments of her story. She had been living on the streets for 3 months. Before that, she had lived with her grandmother, who had encouraged her mathematical interests, but had been taken to a nursing home after a stroke. Lily had run away from a temporary foster placement, unwilling to be separated from the only family she'd known. "Where are you staying now?" Rebecca asked gently. Lily shrugged. "Different places. The library during the day. I find spots at night." Nathan felt his heart constrict. This extraordinary child, this mathematical prodigy who had solved in one night what his team of PhDs couldn't crack in 6 months, was homeless and alone. "Lily," he said carefully, "would you be interested in helping us understand your solution? Better. We could pay you for your time, provide meals." Lily's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Why would you pay me? I'm a kid." "Because you've done something remarkable," Rebecca explained. "You've solved a problem worth millions of dollars to our company. That deserves recognition, regardless of your age." While they spoke, the engineering team had been implementing Lily's algorithm into their simulation models. Dr. Aisha Patel, the lead AI architect, burst into the cafeteria, her expression electric with excitement. "It works," she announced breathlessly. "We ran 3 test scenarios. The new algorithm outperforms our best projections by 340%. It's not just an improvement, it's a complete paradigm shift." Rebecca stared at Lily with newfound wonder. "Do you understand what that means?" Lily nodded. "Your AI can learn more efficiently now. It will make fewer mistakes and adapt faster to new information." "That's exactly right," Aisha confirmed, looking stunned. "How did you know what we were trying to accomplish?" "The equations told me," Lily replied simply, as though it were obvious. Nathan exchanged glances with Rebecca and Aisha. They were witnessing something extraordinary, a natural mathematical intuition that appeared once in a generation, if that. "Lily," Nathan said, making a quick decision, "I'd like to offer you a temporary position as a special consultant. You'd have a safe place to work, meals and payment for your insights. We can figure out a more permanent solution while we work together." Lily considered this, her young face serious. "I need to go to the library every day. Ms. Jenkins will worry if I don't come." "We can arrange that," Rebecca assured her, "and we should talk to Ms. Jenkins. She might be able to help us understand your situation better." For the first time, a hint of a smile crossed Lily's face. "She lets me read the advanced journals. She doesn't treat me like I'm stupid just because I'm small." "Neither will we," Nathan promised. "Your mind is extraordinary, Lily. We'd be the stupid ones if we didn't recognize that." As word spread through quantum dynamics about the child, prodigy who had solved their algorithmic crisis, the mood transformed from impending doom to cautious optimism. The board meeting, rather than being a painful post-mortem on a failing project, became an excited discussion about a revolutionary breakthrough. Nathan observed Lily as she hesitantly explained her approach to a whiteboard full of astonished engineers. There was something both heartbreaking and inspiring about watching this small, neglected child illuminate concepts that had eluded experts with decades of education. But beneath his excitement lurked concern. A child this brilliant, living on the streets, clearly failed by the system. What were their ethical obligations? And more troublingly, what would happen when their competitors learned about Lily? In the cutthroat world of tech innovation, a mind like hers would be coveted, exploited. As the day progressed, Nathan made a silent promise to the remarkable child who had wandered into their building seeking only food and warmth. Quantum dynamics would protect her brilliance, nurture it, and ensure it was used for good. They had discovered not just an algorithm, but a once-in-a-lifetime genius who deserved a chance to change the world on her own terms. What none of them realized was that forces were already aligning against them, and that Lily's algorithm had far greater implications than any of them yet understood. Chapter 3. A Place to Belong. The following week transformed both Lily's life and quantum dynamics. Rebecca Torres had moved quickly, consulting with the company's legal team about Lily's situation. Without legal guardianship established, they created a unique arrangement. Lily would be a special consultant, with payments deposited into a trust fund. Meanwhile, Rebecca personally contacted social services, using her considerable influence, to navigate the system while protecting Lily from institutional uncertainty. For now, Lily stayed in a corporate apartment, normally reserved for visiting executives, with a social worker making daily welfare checks. Ms. Jenkins from the library had provided crucial background information, confirming Lily's extraordinary abilities and helping establish legitimacy to the unusual arrangement. On this particular morning, Nathan led Lily through quantum dynamics' main research floor. The space buzzed with energy as engineers implemented her algorithm across various applications. Lily walked quietly beside him, her small hand occasionally reaching up to touch the employee badge that hung around her neck. The badge represented something she'd never had before, official belonging. "Your algorithm is changing everything," Nathan explained as they passed workstations where programmers typed furiously. "We've already integrated it into our climate prediction models, and the accuracy improvements are extraordinary." Lily nodded, her eyes taking in everything. She'd been given new clothes, simple jeans and t-shirts she'd selected herself, and her blonde hair had been neatly trimmed. Though still reserved, tiny changes revealed her growing comfort. She now made eye contact during conversations and occasionally asked questions. "Dr. Brooks," she said, her voice stronger than it had been a week ago. "Why does everyone keep calling it my algorithm? I just fixed what was already there." Nathan smiled. What you considered just fixing represented a fundamental reconceptualization of how machine learning systems process variable inputs. The team here had been approaching the problem linearly. You saw it as a multidimensional system. They stopped at a large display showing a visualization of data flows through the AI architecture. Colored pathways pulsed and shifted as the system processed information. "Before your changes, our system took hours to process climate datasets and still produced unstable predictions," Nathan continued. "Now it completes the same work in minutes with 97% accuracy." A tall man with wire-rimmed glasses approached them, his expression eager. "Dr. Brooks, we've completed the financial sector simulations." He nodded respectfully to Lily. "Ms. Mason, your predictive architecture is performing beyond our highest expectations in market trend analysis." Lily looked surprised at being addressed so formally. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison," she replied, remembering the engineer's name perfectly, as she did with everyone she met. "Ryan, can you show Lily the global implementation map?" Nathan asked. Ryan led them to another screen displaying a world map dotted with pulsing lights. "Each light represents a server running your algorithm. We've already deployed it across our climate research partners. Universities and research institutions in 23 countries are now using your work." Lily stared at the map, her expression unreadable. "All those places are using what I made?" "That's right," Ryan confirmed. "Your algorithm is helping scientists predict weather patterns, crop yields, and natural disaster risks more accurately than ever before." For the first time since arriving at quantum dynamics, Lily smiled fully, a transformation that lit her entire face. "Grandmother would have liked that," she said softly. "She always said math should help people." The mention of her grandmother was rare. Nathan made a mental note to share this with Rebecca, who was working tirelessly to locate the woman. So far, the search had been complicated by incomplete records, and Lily's limited knowledge of her grandmother's full name and the facility where she'd been taken. "I think we should celebrate," Nathan suggested. "How about ice cream in the cafeteria?" As they headed toward the elevators, Rebecca Torres emerged from a conference room, accompanied by a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. Rebecca's expression brightened when she spotted them. "Nathan." "Lily, perfect timing. I'd like you to meet someone important." She gestured to her companion. "This is Senator William Harrington. He chairs the Senate Committee on Technology and Future Workforce. Senator, this is Dr. Nathan Brooks, our CTO, and Lily Mason, our extraordinary young consultant." The senator's eyebrows raised slightly as he looked at Lily, but to his credit, he addressed her directly rather than talking about her to the adults. "Ms. Mason, I've heard remarkable things about your work. Very impressive for someone of any age, let alone 7 years old." Lily regarded him carefully before responding. "Thank you, Senator Harrington. The senator is interested in our new educational initiative," Rebecca explained, giving Nathan a meaningful look. "I was just sharing our preliminary plans." Nathan understood immediately. The educational initiative had begun as a casual suggestion from Lily herself, a program to identify other overlooked talents from disadvantaged backgrounds. Rebecca had embraced the concept with unexpected enthusiasm, already allocating resources and hiring educational specialists to develop a framework. "It's exactly the kind of public-private partnership that resonates with my colleagues," the senator said. "Identifying exceptional minds in underserved communities, providing educational pathways, and the economic benefits are compelling. Ms. Torres mentioned you might be willing to share some projections?" "Of course," Nathan replied. "We've been developing models based on historical data. Even conservative estimates suggest significant returns, both socially and economically." As they discussed the initiative, Lily listened attentively, occasionally asking surprisingly insightful questions that impressed the senator. The conversation turned to potential government funding and partnership opportunities that could expand the program nationally. Later that afternoon, after the senator had departed with promises of support, Rebecca joined Nathan and Lily in the company's small garden terrace. Lily was working in a notebook, designing educational assessment methods that could identify different types of exceptional abilities. "The senator was impressed," Rebecca said, sitting beside Nathan on a bench. "Hey, particularly with Lily. His office has already sent over preliminary partnership agreements." Nathan watched Lily, who was focused intently on her work. "It's happening faster than I expected. Are we sure we're ready for this kind of expansion? We've only had Lily here for a week." "The timing is perfect," Rebecca insisted. "The success of Lily's algorithm has our stock price soaring. Investors are throwing money at us. If we wait, we lose momentum." "And what about Lily herself? She's still settling in, still legally in limbo. We need to ensure her own situation is secure before using her story as the foundation for a national program." Rebecca lowered her voice. "That's being handled. I've engaged the best family law attorneys in the state. The goal is to establish a stable guardianship situation, hopefully reunite her with her grandmother if possible. But Nathan, think of how many other children like Lily are out there, brilliant minds wasted because they were born into the wrong circumstances." Nathan couldn't argue with that vision. He'd grown up privileged with parents who nurtured his scientific interests and paid for the best education money could buy. How many potential geniuses never got that chance? "We should ask Lily what she wants," he suggested. "This program is her idea, after all." They approached Lily, who looked up from her notebook. Rebecca explained the senator's interest and the possibility of government support for a national program. "Would that help find other kids like me?" Lily asked. "Exactly," Rebecca confirmed. "Children with special talents who haven't had the right opportunities." Lily considered this seriously. "There was a boy at the shelter who could build anything. He made a working radio from trash. Nobody cared because he couldn't read well." She looked up at them. "Would the program help him too?" "That's exactly who we want to find," Nathan assured her. Lily nodded decisively. "Then we should do it." Over the next few days, Lily worked alongside educational specialists to design assessment approaches that looked beyond conventional metrics. Her insights were invaluable. She understood precisely how traditional education had failed to identify her own abilities and could pinpoint the gaps in standard testing methodologies. Meanwhile, Nathan's team continued expanding applications for Lily's algorithm. The core innovation wasn't just its efficiency, but its adaptability across diverse data types. From climate modeling to financial predictions to medical research, the algorithm's effectiveness was unprecedented. As Nathan reviewed the latest test results in his office, Ryan Harrison knocked on his open door, looking troubled. "Dr. Brooks, can I speak with you privately?" Nathan waved him in. "What's wrong, the healthcare implementation not working?" Ryan closed the door and lowered his voice. "The implementation is perfect. Too perfect, maybe. I've been reviewing the security logs, and I've found something concerning." He placed a tablet on Nathan's desk, displaying a series of access records. "Someone's been exploring our network extensively, focusing specifically on Lily's algorithm. They've accessed the core architecture documentation 47 times in the past 3 days from multiple access points within our system." Nathan frowned. "Internal users? Could it just be the implementation team doing their job?" "That's what I thought initially, but the access patterns are unusual. Late-night sessions, systematic exploration of security protocols, attempts to access restricted application data. It's methodical, like someone mapping our system's vulnerabilities." A cold feeling settled in Nathan's stomach. "Do we know who?" "The credentials belong to various team members, but the behavior patterns suggest it might be a single individual using different access points. I've narrowed it to someone on the executive floor with high-level clearance." "Keep this quiet." "For now," Nathan instructed. "Enhance monitoring on the algorithm's core architecture, but don't make it obvious we're watching. And start a secondary backup system offline, something completely isolated from our network." After Ryan left, Nathan stared out his window at the Seattle skyline, troubled by the implications. Quantum dynamics was on the verge of a technological breakthrough that could revolutionize multiple industries. Their stock had risen 43% since implementing Lily's algorithm. The potential value was incalculable, which made it an irresistible target. When Rebecca entered his office for their scheduled meeting about the educational initiative, Nathan decided to share his concerns. "We may have a security issue," he began, explaining what Ryan had discovered. Rebecca's expression hardened. "An inside job? That's troubling. Who has the technical expertise and high enough clearance to do this?" "That's the problem. Too many people. How senior technical staff, department heads, even board members with technical backgrounds. Increase security on all fronts," Rebecca directed. "And Nathan, let's keep Lily out of this for now. She's just beginning to feel safe here. I don't want to shatter that." Nathan agreed, though he wondered how long they could shield Lily from the realities of corporate espionage. Despite her extraordinary intellect, she was still a child who had already endured too much instability in her young life. What neither of them realized was that Lily had already noticed subtle inconsistencies in system behaviors during her work sessions. Her heightened pattern recognition had detected anomalies that even the security team had missed, and while the adults sought to protect her, Lily had begun her own investigation, quietly, methodically, as she did everything else. In her corporate apartment that evening, she sat cross-legged on her bed, using the tablet Quantum Dynamics had given her. Her fingers moved swiftly across the screen as she traced digital breadcrumbs through the company's network. What she discovered would soon force everyone to re-evaluate not just the security threat, but their understanding of just how extraordinary Lily Mason truly was. Chapter 4. Hidden Threats. The elegant conference room on Quantum Dynamics' top floor buzzed with anticipation. As investors and board members gathered for the quarterly review, the atmosphere was markedly different from 3 weeks ago. Gone was the dread of impending failure, replaced by the electric energy of unexpected success. Rebecca Torres stood at the head of the table, her presentation highlighting the company's dramatic turnaround. Behind her, screens displayed climbing stock prices and performance metrics that exceeded every projection. "In summary, gentlemen and ladies," she concluded, "Quantum Dynamics isn't just back on track. We're redefining the track. Our proprietary AI architecture is now being implemented across 5 major industries, with licensing agreements generating revenue streams well beyond our initial forecasts." Martin Winters, the most skeptical board member, leaned forward. "Impressive." "Results, Rebecca, but there's an elephant in the room we need to address." He glanced around at his colleagues. Our entire turnaround hinges on an algorithm created by a homeless 7-year-old girl. Brilliant as she may be, this raises obvious questions about long-term stability. Murmurs rippled through the room. Rebecca had anticipated this concern. Martin raises a valid point, she acknowledged, which is why we've taken steps to secure both Lily's well-being and the company's interests. She nodded to Nathan, seated beside her. Nathan opened a folder containing legal documents. We've established comprehensive intellectual property protections. Lily's algorithm is fully owned by Quantum Dynamics, with royalty structures benefiting her trust fund. More importantly, we've built a team that understands the core principles of her innovation. This isn't about dependency on one individual, but about leveraging a breakthrough to create sustainable advantage. And the child herself? Asked Catherine Baxter, head of the governance committee. What's her status? Legally, we've established a temporary corporate guardianship, while family court proceedings continue, Rebecca explained. We've located her grandmother, Eleanor Mason, currently in assisted living following a stroke. We're working to reunite them with appropriate support systems in place. The discussion continued, addressing concerns about competition, security, and scaling. Throughout, Rebecca and Nathan presented a united front, their confidence infectious. By meeting's end, even Martin Winters seemed satisfied, remaining behind to discuss expansion opportunities in European markets. Outside the conference room, Lily waited with Aisha Patel, the AI architect who had become her closest adult ally at the company. Unlike others who sometimes talked down to her, Aisha treated Lily as an intellectual equal, explaining complex concepts without simplification, but with necessary context. They're still talking, Lily observed, her legs swinging beneath the chair. Though still reserved, she had begun showing more typical childlike behaviors as she felt more secure. Board meetings always run long, Aisha replied. Too many important people who love the sound of their own voices. Lily smiled slightly at this. Dr. Patel, can I show you something on my tablet? Of course. Lily pulled up a series of network access logs she had compiled, annotated with her observations. I think someone's trying to steal my algorithm. Aisha's expression shifted, from curiosity to concern as she scrolled through Lily's findings. The child had identified patterns that the security team had missed, lateral movements through the network, subtle probes of the firewall architecture, and most alarmingly, attempts to extract the algorithm's core architecture disguised as routine system backups. Lily, how did you access these logs? They should be restricted. The system has patterns, Lily explained, as though it were obvious. Once you understand them, you can see how everything connects. She pointed to specific entries. These access attempts come from inside, but they're trying to create a path to somewhere outside. See how the data packets are structured differently, Aisha stared at the girl with newfound appreciation. Beyond mathematical brilliance, Lily possessed an intuitive understanding of complex systems that bordered on the uncanny. We need to show this to Dr. Brooks immediately. They found Nathan just as the board meeting concluded. His expression darkened as he reviewed Lily's findings in his office, with Rebecca joining them moments later. This confirms our suspicions, Nathan said grimly, but Lily's identified the specific vulnerability they're targeting. He looked at the child with a mixture of admiration and concern. Lily, this is exceptional work. But I have to ask, how deeply have you explored our systems? Lily considered the question. I wanted to understand how everything works together. The network is like a mathematical model, all connected by logical patterns. Rebecca and Nathan exchanged glances. They had provided Lily with restricted access, never imagining she could navigate the entire corporate infrastructure. Lily, Rebecca said carefully, finding security problems helps us protect the company, but next time, please tell us before exploring restricted areas. Lily nodded seriously. I was going to tell you once I was sure. I didn't want to be wrong. You're not wrong, Nathan confirmed. In fact, you've given us exactly what we need to catch whoever is doing this. They developed a plan. Rather than shutting down the security, immediately, they would monitor it closely while laying a trap. Nathan's team would create a seemingly vulnerable version of the algorithm's architecture as bait, embedded with traceable markers that would identify anyone who accessed it. As the adults discussed technical details, Lily's attention drifted to the window overlooking Seattle. 3 weeks ago, she had been sleeping under bridges and in abandoned doorways. Now she wore clean clothes, had regular meals, and most importantly was valued for her mind rather than feared for her differences. Yet despite these improvements, something still felt incomplete. She missed her grandmother desperately. The structured corporate environment, while safe, lacked the warmth and unconditional acceptance Eleanor Mason had provided. Lily had overheard enough to know they had found her grandmother, but the adult seemed hesitant to discuss details directly with her. "When can I see my grandmother?" she asked suddenly, interrupting the security discussion. The room fell silent. Rebecca approached and sat beside Lily. "We've found her, as I mentioned before. She's in a facility called Lakeside Care Center. Her condition is stable, but she needs specialized care because of her stroke. Can I visit her?" "We're working on arrangements," Rebecca promised. "There are some legal procedures we need to follow since she's currently not recognized as your legal guardian. But yes, very soon." Nathan noticed the skepticism in Lily's expression, the wariness of a child who had learned that adult promises were often empty. "How about this weekend?" he suggested. "I'll take you myself, regardless of whether the legal paperwork is complete." Rebecca looked like she might object to this circumvention of proper channels, but seeing Lily's face brighten, she nodded her agreement. The following Saturday, Nathan drove Lily to Lakeside Care Center, a comfortable facility nestled among towering pines on Seattle's outskirts. In the passenger seat, Lily clutched a small bouquet of daisies she had carefully selected that morning. "Nervous?" Nathan asked gently. Lily nodded. "What if she doesn't recognize me?" "Her condition report says she has good days and challenging days," Nathan answered honestly. "But the facility staff have been preparing her for your visit. They say she's been very excited." Inside the center, they were greeted by Dr. Sophia Martinez, the neurologist overseeing Eleanor Mason's care. "Lily, your grandmother has been talking about you all morning. Her speech is still affected by the stroke, but her comprehension is excellent. Try not to show alarm at her appearance. Stroke recovery takes time." Lily nodded solemnly. "I understand neural plasticity and recovery trajectories." Dr. Martinez smiled, clearly not surprised that this extraordinary child had researched stroke recovery. "Of course you do. Come, she's waiting." Eleanor Mason sat in a comfortable chair by a window overlooking gardens. Though her left side showed the telltale weakness of stroke damage, her eyes were clear and alert. When she saw Lily, those eyes filled with tears, and her right arm opened in welcome. "Grandma," Lily's careful composure broke as she ran across the room and into her grandmother's embrace. "My brilliant girl," Eleanor whispered, her speech slurred but understandable. "I knew you'd find me." Nathan stepped back, giving them privacy for their reunion. Watching from the doorway, he saw Lily transform, the reserved, wary child becoming animated as she shared stories of her work at quantum dynamics, the algorithm, and her new role. Eleanor listened attentively, occasionally struggling to form words but clearly understanding everything. Later, as they prepared to leave with promises to return soon, Eleanor beckoned Nathan closer. "Protect her," she managed, gripping his hand with surprising strength. "Not just her mind, her heart." "I will," Nathan promised, understanding the weight of this charge. "We're working to bring you both together permanently." On the drive back to Seattle, Lily was quieter, processing the emotional reunion. "Her left side doesn't work right," she finally said, "but her mind is still there. She knew all about combinatorial mathematics." Nathan smiled. "That's where you got your love of math from?" "She was a professor before she retired to take care of me. When my parents—" Lily trailed off, then changed direction. "She taught me that numbers make sense when people don't." The visit to Eleanor had a profound effect on Lily. Back at Quantum Dynamics, she threw herself into her work with renewed purpose, dividing her time between algorithm refinements and helping develop assessments for the educational initiative, now officially named the Quantum Potential Program. Meanwhile, the security trap Nathan's team had set was yielding results. Their monitoring system had tracked several attempts to access the dummy algorithm, all originating from credentials belonging to senior staff, but occurring at unusual hours. On Wednesday evening, the trap was sprung. Someone using the login credentials of Chief Financial Officer Lawrence Davidson downloaded the entire dummy algorithm package, triggering silent alarms throughout the security system. Nathan was working late when Ryan Harrison burst into his office. "We got him, Doctor." "Brooks, the bait file was just transmitted to an external server. We're tracing it now." "Whose credentials were used?" "Davidson's, but the access pattern matches our suspicious user. And here's the clincher. The file was accessed from inside the building, on the executive floor, but Davidson is currently in Tokyo for investor meetings." Nathan immediately called Rebecca, who authorized a full security response. Within hours, they had compiled evidence pointing to a disturbing conclusion. Martin Winters, their own board member, was the infiltrator. Using his executive access, he had been systematically gathering information about Lily's algorithm while creating backdoor access points for external extraction. The transmission went to servers owned by Nexus Innovations, Ryan reported, naming one of their chief competitors. Winters sits on their advisory board, a connection he conveniently failed to disclose to us. Rebecca's expression was thunderous as she reviewed the evidence. "Prepare everything for legal. We'll confront him tomorrow at the emergency board meeting." That night, the executive team worked frantically to secure their systems and document the breach. No one noticed Lily quietly observing from the edges, absorbing every detail of the unfolding crisis. In her apartment later, she sat cross-legged on her bed, her notebook open beside her tablet. The adults believed they understood the full scope of the threat, but Lily had detected something they'd missed. A second vulnerability, more subtle than the first, targeting not just the algorithm itself, but the educational initiative's database. This wasn't just about stealing technology. It was about undermining the entire quantum potential program before it could begin. Someone wanted to prevent quantum dynamics from finding more children like her. The question was why, and whether she could stop them in time. With determined focus, Lily began to type, her small fingers flying across the keyboard as she constructed digital defenses that even quantum security experts hadn't conceived. The adults thought they were protecting her, but some threats only she could see. Chapter 5. The Betrayal. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m., but by 7:30, Quantum Dynamics' executive floor already hummed with tense activity. Security personnel, unusually visible in their dark suits, positioned themselves strategically throughout the building. Legal counsel huddled with Rebecca and Nathan, reviewing evidence and planning their approach to confronting Martin Winters. In a quiet corner of the AI lab, Lily sat beside Aisha, monitoring network activity on her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed her late night defending the company's systems. "You should have told us about the second vulnerability immediately," Aisha chided gently. Lily's fingers continued tapping on the screen. "I needed to understand it first. It's different from the algorithm theft. More personal." "Personal how?" Aisha asked, concerned by Lily's terminology. "Whoever did this wasn't just stealing the algorithm. They were targeting the quantum potential program specifically." Lily looked up, her expression troubled. "They were looking for information about me, and about how to find other children like me." Aisha felt a chill. The corporate espionage they had uncovered was troubling enough, but this suggested something more sinister, not just economic competition, but a targeted attempt to control or prevent the discovery of exceptional talents. "We should tell Dr. Brooks about this right away." Lily nodded reluctantly. "I've secured the databases with new encryption protocols, but they might have already taken some information." They found Nathan in the conference room adjacent to the boardroom, reviewing presentation materials with Rebecca and the head of legal counsel, Sarah Jenkins. "We have additional concerns," Aisha began, explaining what Lily had discovered. Nathan's expression darkened as he examined Lily's findings. This changes things. We thought this was straightforward corporate espionage, Winters stealing our algorithm for Nexus innovations, but specifically targeting information about Lily and the education program suggests different motives. Rebecca looked troubled. Competitors we expected, but this feels more personal, more targeted. It is personal, Lily said quietly. Whoever did this doesn't just want my algorithm. They want to understand how I think, how my mind works. She hesitated, then added, they accessed my psychological assessments and the educational frameworks we've been developing. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The psychological evaluations contained detailed analyses of Lily's unique cognitive processes, potentially valuable information for anyone seeking to identify or develop similar talents. There's something else you should see, Lily continued, pulling up another screen on her tablet. Last night I traced the second data breach. It didn't go to Nexus Innovations. She displayed a complex network diagram showing data flowing to a server registered to an entity called the Prometheus Institute. I've never heard of them, Nathan frowned. Few have, Sarah Jenkins interjected, leaning forward to examine the diagram. They're a private think tank focused on cognitive enhancement and human potential. Very secretive, very well funded. They typically work with governments and military contractors. What would they want with information about Lily and our program? Rebecca asked. Talent identification has military applications, Sarah explained grimly. Finding exceptional minds early, developing specialized training protocols. There are nations that would pay enormously for such capabilities. Lily listened to this discussion with the eerie calm that sometimes unsettled even those closest to her. They won't understand how to use the information correctly, she stated with certainty. My cognitive patterns aren't easily replicable. Before anyone could respond, Ryan Harrison entered with urgent news. Martin Winters has arrived early. He's currently in the executive lounge. Perfect, Rebecca said, gathering her materials. Let's confront him before the other board members arrive. Sarah, ensure the security team is ready. Nathan, bring the technical evidence. Aisha, please stay with Lily. Aisha nodded, but Lily stood her ground. I should be there. It's my algorithm, my program. Absolutely not, Rebecca replied firmly. This is going to be confrontational, possibly ugly. It's not appropriate for you to be present. But, Lily, Nathan said gently, crouching to her eye level. I promise we'll represent your interests. But Rebecca's right. This isn't something you need to witness. Reluctantly, Lily returned to the lab with Aisha, though her expression made it clear she disagreed with being excluded. In the executive lounge, Martin Winters was helping himself to coffee when Rebecca, Nathan, and Sarah entered, accompanied by two security personnel who positioned themselves near the door. Morning, Rebecca, Winters greeted them casually. Quite the security. Presence today. Something I should know about. Rebecca's professional smile didn't reach her eyes. Actually, Martin, there is. We've uncovered evidence of corporate espionage originating from within quantum dynamics. Winters raised an eyebrow, showing only mild interest. Concerning, I assume you've identified the culprit. We have, Nathan confirmed, opening his laptop to display the evidence they had compiled. Multiple security breaches, all traced back to executive-level credentials, specifically targeting Lily Mason's algorithm and the quantum potential program. Winters examined the screen, his expression unreadable. Troubling indeed. How can I help? You can start by explaining why your access credentials were used during these breaches, Rebecca said bluntly, or why the stolen data was transmitted to Nexus Innovations, where you serve as an advisory board member, a relationship you failed to disclose to this board. A tense silence followed. Winters carefully set down his coffee cup. I see, well, this is rather awkward. His demeanor shifted subtly, the affable board member replaced by something colder and more calculated. I had hoped for a more elegant resolution. There's nothing elegant about corporate theft, Sarah Jenkins stated, or exploiting a child's work for personal gain. Winters smiled thinly. You misunderstand the situation entirely. This isn't about corporate competition or financial gain. It's about national security and proper resource allocation. Nathan frowned. What are you talking about? The Mason girl represents a cognitive anomaly of immense value, Winters explained as casually as if discussing the weather. Her algorithm has applications far beyond climate modeling or financial predictions. The pattern recognition capabilities alone have significant defense implications. So you're stealing it for what, military applications? Rebecca asked incredulously. Not stealing, securing. Winters straightened his tie. The Prometheus Institute has government contracts to identify and develop strategic intellectual assets. A mind like Lily Mason's doesn't belong in a corporate environment focused on quarterly profits. Her abilities should be developing under proper guidance, with national interests in mind. She's a child, not an asset, Nathan said, his voice hard with anger. She's both, Winters countered. Exceptional talents require exceptional handling. Your educational program is admirable but misguided, diluting resources across hundreds of moderately gifted children rather than focusing intensively on the truly extraordinary few. It's inefficient. Rebecca stepped closer, her posture intimidating despite her smaller stature. Let me be absolutely clear, Martin. Lily Mason is under our protection. Your connection to this institute doesn't concern me. Your theft of proprietary information and attempted sabotage of our program does. Security will escort you from the building. Our lawyers will contact yours. Winters appeared unfazed. You're making a significant error in judgment. The Prometheus Institute has resources and influence that make quantum dynamics look like a school science project. This won't end with my departure. It will for you, Sarah Jenkins interjected. The evidence of corporate espionage is irrefutable. Your board position is terminated, effective immediately. Criminal charges are being prepared. As security moved to escort him out, Winters made one final remark. Ask yourselves this, are you truly equipped to protect and develop what that child represents? Or are you simply exploiting her in a different way, wrapping corporate interests in the veneer of social good? After Winters was removed from the building, Rebecca, Nathan, and Sarah gathered in Rebecca's office to assess the situation. The Prometheus Institute connection complicates things, Sarah admitted. They have powerful government backers, significant legal resources. Can they make any legitimate claim regarding Lily? Nathan asked worriedly. Sarah shook her head. Not legally, no. But they could apply pressure in other ways. Regulatory. Hurdles for the educational program. Challenges to our patents. Even media manipulation to question our guardianship arrangement. Rebecca paced the office. We need to accelerate our legal protection of Lily and her grandmother, and we need to get the quantum potential program fully operational as quickly as possible, establish it as a successful, legitimate initiative before they can undermine it. I'll contact Senator Harrington, Nathan suggested. His support would provide additional political coverage. Meanwhile, in the AI lab, Lily had not been idle. Despite promises to stay with Aisha, she had slipped away during a moment of distraction and made her way to the executive floor's server room, a restricted area she nevertheless accessed using her understanding of the building's security protocols. Inside, she connected her tablet directly to the main server, bypassing standard access controls. Her fingers flew across the screen as she implemented a series of protective measures she had developed overnight. First, she created a distributed backup of her algorithm and the quantum potential program framework, encrypting fragments across multiple secure servers worldwide. Next, she installed detection protocols that would alert her personally to any attempted access, regardless of authorization level. Finally, she embedded a subtle but powerful defense mechanism. If anyone attempted to alter the core architecture of her algorithm or the program parameters, the system would revert to protected backups while appearing to accept the changes. As she worked, Lily contemplated what she had overheard through the building's internal communication system. The Prometheus Institute wanted her because of how her mind worked. They saw her as a resource, an asset, not a person. It wasn't the first time adults had reduced her to a category rather than seeing her as an individual. But quantum dynamics was different. Despite their corporate interests, Nathan, Rebecca, and Aisha treated her with respect. They valued not just her intelligence, but her ideas, her perspective. Most importantly, they had found her grandmother and were working to reunite them. Lily completed her work and carefully removed traces of her unauthorized access. As she exited the server room, she nearly collided with Ryan Harrison. "Lily!" He looked startled. "You shouldn't be in there. That area's restricted." She gazed up at him steadily. "I was implementing additional security measures. The ones you created wouldn't stop another infiltration attempt." Ryan seemed torn between concern over her rule-breaking and professional curiosity. "What kind of measures?" "Distributed encryption with quantum key distribution and false acceptance. Protocols that will make intruders believe they've succeeded, while actually containing them in a simulation environment." Ryan stared at her. That's beyond what our security team has even considered." "I know." Lily's matter-of-fact tone held no arrogance, just certainty. "Can you take me back to Dr. Patel now? She's probably worried." As they walked back to the lab, Ryan studied the small girl beside him with newfound respect. "Lily, have you considered that your mind doesn't just solve problems differently, it sees different problems entirely?" Lily considered this. "I just see patterns that connect things. Everything connects, even when people think it doesn't." In the aftermath of Winter's removal, quantum dynamics entered a new phase of rapid development. The board, shaken by the betrayal, unanimously approved expanded funding for the Quantum Potential Program. Rebecca accelerated the timeline for the first pilot assessment centers, while Nathan focused on securing Lily's algorithm with unprecedented protection measures, unaware that Lily had already implemented safeguards beyond what his team had designed. Lily divided her time between refining the algorithm's applications and working on the educational program's assessment protocols. Weekends were spent with her grandmother, whose recovery was progressing steadily. With proper therapy and support, Eleanor Mason was regaining speech function and limited mobility. Plans were underway to relocate her to an assisted living facility closer to quantum dynamics, with accommodations for Lily to live with her while maintaining her role at the company. The legal team had made significant progress in establishing a formal guardianship arrangement that would protect both Lily's relationship with her grandmother and her intellectual contributions. But beneath this progress lurked a persistent concern. The Prometheus Institute had gone quiet, too quiet in Nathan's assessment. Martin Winters faced criminal charges, yet showed no signs of worry. His confidence suggested resources and plans they hadn't yet identified. Late one evening, as Lily worked in the lab with Aisha, she suddenly stopped typing, her expression distant. "What is it?" Aisha asked, recognizing this look as Lily processing a complex pattern. "They're not going to stop," Lily said quietly. "The Prometheus Institute. They still want what I can do." "We're protecting you and your work," Aisha assured her. Lily shook her head. "Not just me, the program. The other children will find." She looked up at Aisha with unnervingly clear eyes. "They don't want us to find more children like me because they want to find them first." The implications sent a chill through Aisha. If the Prometheus Institute was developing its own talent identification program with military applications, Quantum Dynamics Initiative represented both competition and exposure of their methods. "We need to tell Rebecca and Nathan immediately." But Lily wasn't finished. "There's something else. I've been analyzing Martin Winters' access patterns. He wasn't working alone inside Quantum Dynamics." "What? Who else was involved?" Lily's expression was troubled. "I don't know yet. But the pattern suggests someone with even higher access privileges, someone who's still here." The revelation hung between them in the quiet lab. The enemy wasn't just outside their walls. Someone else within Quantum Dynamics was working against them, against Lily, against everything they were building, and they had yet to discover who it was. Chapter 6. Hidden Talents. 6 weeks after Martin Winter's removal, the Quantum Potential program launched its first assessment center in a renovated community building in South Seattle. The space bore no resemblance to traditional educational testing facilities. Instead of sterile rooms with standardized desks, it featured interactive zones designed to engage different types of intelligence through play, creation, and exploration. Lily had been instrumental in designing the assessment methodology, insisting that traditional testing missed the most exceptional minds. Standardized tests measure what schools teach, she had explained to the educational specialists, but extraordinary thinking often happens outside those boundaries. On this Saturday morning, Lily stood beside Nathan in the center's observation room, watching through one-way glass as 20 children from underserved communities explored the space. Each had been nominated by teachers, social workers, or community center staff who had noticed unusual abilities that conventional metrics failed to capture. "That boy with the Lego pieces," Lily pointed. "Watch how he's building. He's creating a working hydraulic system without instructions." Nathan observed the child, a 9-year-old named Marcus, whose school records showed mediocre academic performance. Yet here, given materials and freedom from conventional expectations, he was demonstrating advanced engineering intuition. "And the girl in the corner?" Nathan asked, noting a thin 12-year-old who seemed to be doing nothing but staring at a wall of jumbled images. "Pattern recognition," Lily explained. "She hasn't moved because she's solving the visual algorithm embedded in the image layout. She's already identified 3 sequential patterns that most adults would miss." The center had been operating for just 3 days, but already they had identified 14 children with exceptional abilities across various domains: mathematical reasoning, engineering intuition, language acquisition, pattern recognition, and creative problem-solving. Each child shared a common history, early indicators of unusual talent overlooked or misinterpreted by traditional educational systems, often accompanied by social or economic challenges that further masked their abilities. "Ms. Torres has arrived," announced the center's director, Dr. Maya Rodriguez, joining them in the observation room. "She's brought the senator." "Earlier than expected," Nathan noted, checking his watch. "Lily, are you ready to walk them through your assessment designs?" Lily nodded, though her expression betrayed mild anxiety. Despite weeks in the corporate environment, she still found large group presentations challenging. One-on-one explanations of complex concepts came naturally. Navigating social dynamics with powerful adults remained difficult. Rebecca Torres entered with Senator Harrington and 2 aides, all looking impressed by the center's design. "Nathan, Lily," Rebecca greeted them warmly. "The senator wanted to see the program in action before next week's funding committee meeting." Senator Harrington crouched slightly to address Lily at eye level, a gesture of respect she had come to appreciate from adults who understood her dual nature as both child and intellectual peer. "Ms. Mason, I've been reading the assessment framework you developed. Quite revolutionary. Would you mind showing me how it works in practice?" For the next hour, Lily led the group through the center, explaining each assessment zone and the cognitive abilities it was designed to identify. She pointed out specific children demonstrating exceptional talents, explaining how traditional education had failed to recognize their gifts. "Marcus shows advanced spatial reasoning and engineering intuition," she explained, observing the boy with the Lego hydraulics. "But his school primarily values memorization and written tests, where he struggles because of undiagnosed dyslexia." "And what happens after identification?" the senator asked. "How do we nurture these abilities?" "Personalized development pathways," Lily explained, "not separate from regular education but enhanced. Special mentors, advanced resources, project-based learning opportunities, and support for families. Many of these children come from challenging backgrounds like I did." Senator Harrington nodded approvingly. "The combination of talent identification with family support makes this unique. Most gifted programs extract children from their communities. This keeps them connected while still developing their abilities." "That was Lily's insistence," Nathan added. "She believes exceptional minds don't need isolation, They need community and purpose. As they continued the tour, Rebecca pulled Nathan aside. The security team has completed their latest analysis of the potential internal threat. We need to discuss their findings privately. They excused themselves, leaving Lily to continue explaining the program to the senator. In Rebecca's temporary office at the center, she closed the door and activated a signal jammer, a precaution that had become standard for sensitive discussions since Winter's betrayal. They've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities, Rebecca reported, displaying profiles on her secure tablet. Lawrence Davidson, our CFO, Vanessa Chen, VP of Global Strategy, or James Peterson, Head of Board Relations. Nathan studied the profiles with concern, all with high-level access, all capable of significant damage. What's the evidence? Digital footprints mostly, anomalous network access, communication patterns consistent with covert information sharing, unexplained schedule variances. Nothing definitive yet. We need to be certain before we act, Nathan cautioned. A false accusation could destabilize the entire company. Agreed, but we also need to accelerate our protection measures for the quantum potential program. If the Prometheus Institute has another insider, they could undermine everything we're building. Later that afternoon, as the assessment center's first session concluded, Lily joined Nathan and Rebecca in reviewing the day's findings. 20 children assessed, 14 identified with exceptional abilities, 5 with truly extraordinary talents comparable to Lily's own, though in different domains. Marcus Thompson shows engineering intuition beyond graduate level, Lily noted, reviewing his assessment data. Jasmine Williams has advanced language acquisition abilities. She decoded patterns in an invented language within minutes. Aaron Chen's mathematical reasoning approaches my level, though his application methods differ significantly from mine. This exceeds our most optimistic projections, Rebecca observed. If these results are consistent across other communities, they will be, Lily stated with certainty. Exceptional minds exist everywhere. They just haven't been properly identified. Nathan was about to respond when his phone buzzed with a security alert. His expression darkened as he read the message. There's been an unauthorized access attempt to the program database from inside our secure network. Rebecca immediately pulled up her secure communication channel. When? Just now. While we've been sitting here, Lily's eyes widened. Everyone with top clearance is here at the center for the demonstration. If someone is accessing the database now, they're revealing themselves, Nathan finished. Security is tracing the access point now. Minutes ticked by tensely as they waited for updates. Finally, Nathan's phone buzzed again. They've traced it. Executive floor, main building, finance, department access terminal. He looked up grimly. Lawrence Davidson's office. Rebecca immediately called security. Full lockdown protocol. Secure Davidson's office, his devices, all access points. No one enters or leaves until we arrive. They rushed back to Quantum Dynamics headquarters, leaving Lily in Dr. Rodriguez's care, despite her protests that she should accompany them. Security footage revealed Lawrence Davidson had left the building hours ago after the morning's executive briefing, yet his credentials were being used to access secure servers in real time. Upon arrival at Davidson's office, they found the door, locked but lights visible beneath it. Security overrode the lock, entering with Nathan and Rebecca close behind. Inside, they found not Lawrence Davidson, but his executive assistant, Meredith Walsh, frantically downloading files to an external drive. She looked up in shock as they entered, her hand moving quickly to close the laptop. "Step away from the computer, Ms. Walsh," the security chief instructed firmly. "This isn't what it looks like," she began, but Rebecca cut her off. "Save it. We've caught you accessing restricted files using stolen credentials. Security, secure all devices, and escort Ms. Walsh to the holding room." As Meredith was led away, Nathan examined the laptop she'd been using. She was specifically targeting the assessment methodologies from the Quantum Potential program, not the AI algorithm, the talent identification protocols. "Confirms our theory about the Prometheus Institute's interests," Rebecca noted grimly. "They want to replicate our identification methods for their own purposes." A thorough search of Meredith's workstation and personal devices revealed extensive communication with the Prometheus Institute, dating back months before Lily's arrival. She had been placed at Quantum Dynamics specifically to monitor technological developments and identify potential recruitment targets. When Martin Winters joined the board, bringing connections to the Institute, their operation expanded to active industrial espionage. While Winters focused on extracting Lily's algorithm, Walsh gathered intelligence on corporate strategy and personnel. "What's bothering me," Nathan said, as they reviewed the evidence in Rebecca's office, "is that neither of them tried to directly recruit Lily. If she was their primary target, why focus on stealing her work rather than persuading her to join them?" Rebecca considered this. Perhaps they recognized she wouldn't be easily manipulated. A direct approach might have alerted us to their interest. Or they wanted more than just Lily, suggested Ryan Harrison, who had joined the investigation. The assessment protocol suggests they're looking to identify and recruit multiple exceptional talents, building their own program, but with very different objectives from ours. The following morning, Lily sat quietly in Rebecca's office as the adults explained what they had discovered. Though they attempted to soften the details, Lily immediately grasped the implications. "They wanted to find children like me, but for military applications," she summarized. "Using my assessment designs to identify specific cognitive patterns, that could be weaponized." Rebecca winced at Lily's bluntness. "That appears to be their objective, yes." "They won't stop," Lily said with certainty. "They'll find other ways to infiltrate the program." "We've enhanced security across all systems," Nathan assured her, "and with Walsh and Winters identified, their current operation is compromised." Lily shook her head slightly, a gesture the adults had come to recognize as her processing a problem differently than they were. "What is it, Lily?" Rebecca prompted. "The problem isn't just security, it's visibility." Lily looked up at them. "The quantum potential program needs to be so public, so transparent, that any attempt to subvert it would be immediately obvious." Nathan frowned. "You want us to make the program more public? Wouldn't that make it more vulnerable?" "Not the secure elements," Lily clarified, "but the core mission, the methodology, the results, those should be visible to everyone. If thousands of people understand what we're doing and why, the Prometheus Institute can't secretly undermine it or replicate it without questions being raised." Rebecca considered this. A transparent initiative with public accountability, it would make their covert approach much more difficult. "Exactly," Lily confirmed, "and it protects the children we identify. If everyone knows they're part of our program, they can't simply disappear into some secret government project." The strategy was implemented immediately. Rebecca accelerated plans for a major press conference announcing the Quantum Potential program with Lily herself, with Eleanor Mason's permission, as the public face of the initiative. Senator Harrington arranged congressional hearings on identifying and developing exceptional talents as a national resource, establishing public oversight that would make covert exploitation more difficult. 2 weeks later, Quantum Dynamics hosted a technology showcase featuring both Lily's revolutionary algorithm and the first group of children identified through the program. Under careful supervision and with parent approval, Marcus demonstrated his engineering innovations. Jasmine presented her linguistic analysis techniques, and Aaron explained his mathematical modeling approach. The event drew massive media attention, with coverage emphasizing the program's commitment to developing exceptional talents within their communities, rather than isolating them in elite institutions. The children, many from disadvantaged backgrounds, became overnight symbols of untapped potential in overlooked communities. Behind the scenes, however, tensions remained high. Despite Walsh's arrest and the evidence against Winters, the Prometheus Institute maintained its operations. Intelligence suggested they were regrouping, developing new strategies to access the talents Quantum Dynamics was identifying. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Lily sat with her grandmother in their new shared apartment near Quantum Dynamics headquarters. Eleanor Mason's recovery had progressed remarkably, allowing her to move from the care facility to assisted living with home health support. The apartment had been specially designed to accommodate her needs while providing Lily with a real home. For the first time in months. "You're worried," Eleanor observed, her speech clearer now after weeks of intensive therapy. Lily nodded. "The Prometheus Institute is still operating. They've gone quiet, but they haven't stopped." Eleanor reached for her granddaughter's hand. "You've created something remarkable, Lily. The program is helping children like you, children who might otherwise never discover their gifts. Tell Sam, but what if they find a way to use it for the wrong reasons?" "That's always the risk when you create something powerful," Eleanor said wisely. "Any tool can be misused. The question is whether the potential good outweighs that risk." Lily considered this. The first assessment center has already identified 27 children with exceptional abilities. 3 more centers open next month. By the end of the year, we could find hundreds. And each of those children will have opportunities they would have missed otherwise. Eleanor smiled gently. "You can't control every outcome, my brilliant girl, but you can build something so valuable, so fundamentally good, that its positive impact outweighs the dangers." The conversation was interrupted by a call from Nathan. Lily answered, listening intently before responding. "I'll be there." "In 30 minutes, she promised, ending the call and turning to her grandmother. "They've completed the integration of my algorithm into the new climate modeling system. The initial results show 98% accuracy in predicting previously undetectable pattern shifts." "Go," Eleanor encouraged her. "Mrs. Patel will be here soon for my therapy session." As Lily prepared to leave, she looked back at her grandmother, the woman who had first recognized and nurtured her extraordinary mind, who had given her both roots and wings. Despite all the challenges, despite the threat still lurking, Lily felt something she had rarely experienced before: hope. The Quantum Potential program was growing, identifying children whose brilliant minds might otherwise have been lost to poverty, neglect, or simple misunderstanding. Her algorithm was being applied to solve previously intractable problems in climate science, medical research, and sustainable energy. For the first time, Lily could see a future where her unique way of thinking was not just accommodated, but celebrated, not just for herself, but for all the exceptional minds that would come after her. And that future, with all its uncertainties, was worth fighting for. What she couldn't know as she left the apartment was that the Prometheus Institute had already implemented their contingency plan, one that would target not Lily herself, but the very heart of what she had built. Chapter 7: Legacy of Brilliance. The annual Tech Future Conference transformed Seattle's convention center into a showcase of innovation, with quantum dynamics commanding the central exhibition hall. 1 year after Lily Mason had wandered into their building seeking shelter, the company had become the industry's most celebrated success story, with stock values tripled and groundbreaking applications of her algorithm reshaping multiple industries. The main stage, Rebecca Torres addressed a packed auditorium, her confidence evident as she presented the Quantum Potential program's remarkable first-year results. "In 12 months, we've identified 347 exceptional minds across 23 states," she announced proudly. "Children whose extraordinary abilities might have remained undiscovered without our assessment approach. Today I'm pleased to announce the program's international expansion, with new centers opening in partnership with educational institutions across 3 continents." In the front row, 8-year-old Lily sat beside Nathan and her grandmother, Eleanor Mason, whose health had improved dramatically with proper care and the joy of reuniting with her granddaughter. Behind them sat the first cohort of children identified through the program: Marcus with his engineering designs, Jasmine with her linguistic innovations, Aaron with his mathematical models, and dozens more, each with unique cognitive gifts. "But numbers alone don't tell the real story," Rebecca continued. "The true measure of success lies in individual transformations." She gestured toward the children. "These brilliant young minds aren't just receiving advanced education, they're actively contributing solutions to real-world problems." The screen behind her displayed a series of innovations developed by program participants. Marcus's water filtration system being implemented in rural communities, Jasmine's language learning application, helping refugee children maintain cultural connections while acquiring new languages, Aaron's predictive models, optimizing food distribution networks to reduce waste. None of this would have been possible without the extraordinary vision of one child who refused to accept limitations, Rebecca concluded, inviting Lily to join her on stage. The audience erupted in applause as Lily walked to the podium. Though still small for her age, she carried herself with newfound confidence. The past year had transformed her, not just through better nutrition and care, but through the security of having her grandmother back, a stable home, and a community that valued her unique mind. "Thank you," Lily began, her voice soft but clear in the microphone. "When I created the algorithm that helped start this program, I was just trying to solve an interesting problem. I didn't realize it would change so many lives." She paused, looking out at the audience with steady eyes. There are brilliant minds everywhere. In homeless shelters, in struggling schools, in places where talent often goes unnoticed. The Quantum Potential program doesn't create exceptional abilities. It simply finds them and gives them a chance to grow. As Lily continued her carefully prepared speech, Nathan noticed a commotion at the back of the auditorium. Security personnel were converging discreetly around a tall, distinguished man who had just entered. With a jolt, Nathan recognized him. Dr. Alexander Mercer, the rarely seen director of the Prometheus Institute. Nathan immediately alerted Rebecca through their security channel. She glanced briefly toward the disturbance, but maintained her composed expression as Lily concluded her remarks. When the presentation ended and the audience moved toward the exhibition halls, Rebecca, Nathan, and their security team quickly escorted Lily and Eleanor to a private room. "Dr. Mercer is here," Nathan explained to Lily, "the director of the Prometheus Institute." Lily nodded, unsurprised. "I thought they might make a public show appearance eventually. Our transparency strategy has made it difficult for them to operate covertly." "We should leave immediately," Rebecca insisted. "The security risk—" "No," Lily interrupted firmly. "If he's approaching publicly, there's a reason. We should hear what he has to say." Rebecca looked uncertain. "Lily, this man's organization has been trying to undermine everything we've built. And now he's here in person, in a public venue, surrounded by media and witnesses," Lily pointed out. "This isn't a threat, it's an acknowledgement." After a tense discussion, they agreed to a carefully controlled meeting. Dr. Mercer would be thoroughly screened for weapons or surveillance devices and allowed to speak with them only in a secure room with multiple security personnel present. Alexander. Mercer proved to be a striking figure, tall with silver-streaked dark hair and penetrating grey eyes that assessed everything with clinical precision. Despite security's efforts to create an intimidating atmosphere, he appeared perfectly at ease as he took the offered seat across from Rebecca, Nathan, and Lily. Eleanor had insisted on remaining with her granddaughter, sitting protectively beside. "Miss Mason," Mercer began, addressing Lily directly rather than the adults. "Your work is extraordinary. Both the algorithm itself and the talent identification methodology you've developed represent paradigm shifts in their respective fields." "Thank you," Lily replied simply. "Though I'm curious why your interest led to corporate espionage rather than a straightforward approach." If Mercer was surprised by her directness, he didn't show it. "An unfortunate miscalculation. Martin Winters believed discretion was necessary given the national security implications of your work. He was wrong." "What do you want, Dr. Mercer?" Rebecca asked bluntly. "To propose a collaboration," he replied. "The Prometheus Institute has resources and capabilities that could significantly enhance the Quantum Potential program's effectiveness." Nathan laughed incredulously. "Collaboration? After you tried to steal our intellectual property and undermine our program?" "Those approaches failed," Mercer acknowledged, without apparent embarrassment. "We've reassessed our position. The public nature of your program has made covert acquisition of your methods impractical. More importantly, your results are impressive enough to warrant a different approach." He turned back to Lily. You've identified 347 exceptional minds in 1 year. Our predictive models suggest that with our combined resources, that number could exceed 1,200 annually, children who would otherwise remain undiscovered. Lily studied him carefully. Your interest isn't purely altruistic. The Prometheus Institute works primarily with defense applications. True, Mercer conceded. Some of the talents we identify would be directed toward national security interests. But under a collaborative framework, that would represent only a small percentage of identified children, and always with full transparency and family consent. Eleanor Mason, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. My granddaughter created something to help children like herself, children the system failed to recognize. She didn't design it to create weapons or tools for military applications. Mercer nodded respectfully toward Eleanor. Mrs. Mason, I understand your concern, but exceptional minds have always contributed to both human advancement and human security. From Alan Turing to Einstein, brilliant thinkers have helped protect nations while also advancing knowledge. The difference, Nathan interjected, is choice. Adults making informed decisions about their contributions is fundamentally different from identifying children for specific purposes. Which is why we're proposing collaboration rather than continuation of our independent efforts, Mercer explained. The Quantum Potential Program has established ethical frameworks and public accountability that our approach lacked. We're acknowledging that your model is superior in many ways. Rebecca remained skeptical. And what would this collaboration entail exactly? Shared resources, expanded assessment methodologies, access to our advanced predictive algorithms, that could help identify potential exceptional minds even earlier. In exchange, we would establish a separate, transparent pathway for older participants who might choose to apply their talents to national security challenges. Throughout this exchange, Lily had remained thoughtful, analyzing patterns in Mercer's proposal and body language. Finally, she spoke. Your proposal has potential merit, she acknowledged, surprising the adults, but trust has been severely damaged by your previous actions. Any collaboration would require complete transparency, independent oversight, and ironclad protections for all children in the program. Mercer studied her with what appeared to be genuine admiration. Precisely what I would expect from someone of your perception. We are prepared to accept those conditions. The meeting concluded, with no agreements, but an understanding that formal proposals would be exchanged. As Mercer departed under security escort, Nathan turned to Lily with concern. You're actually considering their offer? Lily nodded slowly. The Prometheus Institute will continue their work with or without us. By establishing a collaborative framework with strict ethical guidelines, we gain influence over their methods and ensure protections for the children they identify. Rebecca looked impressed. Strategic thinking beyond your years, Lily. It's not strategy, Lily corrected her. It's pattern recognition, the pattern that leads to the most positive outcomes for the most children. In the weeks that followed, rigorous negotiations established a framework for limited collaboration between quantum dynamics and the Prometheus Institute. The arrangement included unprecedented transparency requirements, ethical oversight committees, staffed by child development experts and civil liberties advocates, and absolute prohibitions against directing children toward specific career paths before adulthood. The expanded resources allowed the Quantum Potential Program to grow far beyond its initial scope. Assessment centers opened across the country and internationally, identifying thousands of exceptional minds in communities ranging from inner-city neighborhoods to remote rural areas. 6 months after the Tech Future conference, Lily sat in the garden of the Seattle home she now shared with her grandmother, a comfortable house purchased with the trust fund Quantum Dynamics had established for her. Eleanor, now walking with just a slight limp, tended to flowering plants while Lily worked on her tablet. Nathan Brooks arrived for his weekly visit, bringing updates on the program's progress and educational materials for Lily, who divided her time between quantum dynamics and a specialized education program tailored to her unique abilities. The Jakarta Center identified 17 exceptional minds in its first month. he reported, accepting the lemonade Eleanor offered. Including a 9-year-old with extraordinary three-dimensional visualization abilities. Her architectural designs are being incorporated into a sustainable housing project. Lily smiled. And the Moscow Center? 23 identifications, including the music prodigy you predicted we'd find. His compositional algorithms are remarkable, different from yours, but equally innovative in structure. As they discussed developments across the program, Eleanor observed her granddaughter with quiet pride. The frightened, homeless child of a year ago had blossomed into a confident young genius who had not only transformed her own circumstances, but created opportunities for hundreds of other exceptional children. Dr. Mercer sent a formal request, Nathan mentioned, his tone more serious. He'd like you to review the Institute's new identification algorithms. They believe they've found a way to identify exceptional cognitive patterns in children as young as 3 years old. Lily considered this carefully. I'll review them, but with caution. Early identification has benefits, but also risks. We need to ensure their methods don't create harmful expectations or undermine normal childhood development. Her balanced response reflected the wisdom she had developed alongside her intellectual growth, an understanding that extraordinary abilities carried both opportunities and responsibilities. Later that evening, after Nathan had departed, Lily and Eleanor sat on their porch swing, watching the sunset over the Seattle skyline. "Are you happy, Lily?" Eleanor asked softly, "with everything that's happened?" Lily leaned against her grandmother's shoulder. "I'm where I belong now, and I'm helping others find where they belong too." "Your parents would be so proud," Eleanor said, a rare reference to the daughter and son-in-law she had lost years ago, not just of what you've accomplished, but of who you've become. Lily nodded, feeling the familiar mixture of sadness and acceptance that accompanied thoughts of the parents she barely remembered. "I think they would be proud of what we're building, a world where being different isn't seen as being wrong." In her bedroom that night, Lily added to the journal she had been keeping since the program began, a record not just of achievements and challenges, but of the children whose lives had been changed. Each entry contained names, abilities, and updates on their progress. It was her way of ensuring that none of them would ever feel invisible again. The journal's first page bore a simple quote from her grandmother: "Extraordinary minds deserve extraordinary opportunities." What had begun with a hungry child finding shelter and solving an impossible equation had grown into a movement that was reshaping how the world identified and nurtured exceptional talents. 5 years later, a teenage Lily stood before the United Nations Educational Council, presenting the global results of the Quantum Potential Program. The statistics were impressive. Over 7,000 exceptional minds identified across 43 countries, breakthrough innovations in climate science, medicine, sustainable agriculture, and dozens of other fields. But the true measure of success, as Lily explained to the assembled delegates, wasn't found in numbers or innovations. It was in the stories of individual children who had gone from overlooked to empowered, from marginalized to mentored. A mind that sees patterns differently isn't wrong, it's just tuned to a different frequency, she concluded. When we learn to receive those frequencies, we discover solutions to problems we didn't even know how to approach. The Quantum Potential Program doesn't create exceptional abilities. It simply helps us hear the unique frequencies that have always been broadcasting around us. The standing ovation that followed represented not just approval of her words, but recognition of a fundamental shift in how human potential was understood and developed. The girl who had once been invisible had not only found her place in the world, but had expanded the world's capacity to see the extraordinary potential hiding in plain sight. As Lily returned to her seat beside her grandmother, now a distinguished educational consultant to the program, she squeezed Eleanor's hand in silent gratitude. The journey that had begun with a cold, hungry child seeking shelter had transformed not just her life, but the lives of thousands like her. The algorithm that had saved quantum dynamics now powered predictive models addressing humanity's most pressing challenges. The educational methodologies she had developed were revolutionizing how exceptional abilities were identified and nurtured worldwide. But perhaps most importantly, no child with extraordinary potential would ever again be dismissed as merely difficult, merely different, or merely homeless. In the audience sat hundreds of the program's graduates, now young adults pursuing diverse paths from scientific research to artistic innovation, each carrying forward Lily's legacy in their own unique way. Among them were Marcus, Jasmine, and Aaron, the first cohort who had grown alongside Lily through the program and now served as mentors to younger participants. The world had changed because one small girl had refused to accept the limitations others placed upon her. And in changing the world, she had found what she had sought all along, not just recognition of her extraordinary mind, but a place to truly belong.